Welcome back, my favorite students. You're on Desi English, where we make learning fun and simple. I hope you're all doing well. Let's dive into our new conversation podcast. Let's get started.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Julia. We're here to provide you with practical tips, effective strategies, and inspiring stories to help you improve your English skills.
Whether you're just starting out or looking to refine your fluency, we've got something for everyone. Today's episode is all about learning tips and strategies that will make your English journey smoother and more enjoyable.
That's right, Adam. We'll be sharing some of our favorite methods to enhance your English learning experience, from immersion techniques to setting realistic goals. Plus, we'll answer some listener questions towards the end of the episode.
So stay tuned and get ready to take your English to the next level. Let's dive in. Before we dive into our tips and strategies, I want to share a quick story from my own language learning journey. When I first started learning French, I was really struggling with understanding native speakers. I remember feeling quite frustrated because no matter how many vocabulary lists I memorized, I still couldn't follow conversations.
I can definitely relate to that, Adam. It can be really discouraging. What did you do to overcome that hurdle?
Well, I decided to immerse myself completely. I started listening to French radio stations while commuting and watched French movies without subtitles. It was tough at first, but over time, I started to catch more words and phrases. The real breakthrough came when I began to recognize the natural flow and rhythm of the language.
That's such a great example of how immersion can make a difference. It reminds me of when I was learning Spanish. I found a language exchange partner online, and we would meet virtually every week. At first, I was so nervous about making mistakes, but those conversations really helped build my confidence.
Exactly. That's why today we'll be discussing immersion techniques and other strategies that can help you overcome similar challenges. If you stick with us, you'll hear some practical advice that you can start applying right away.
So, let's jump into our first tip, immersion, and how you can incorporate it into your daily life to make English learning more effective.
All right, let's dive into our first tip, immersion. As we mentioned earlier, immersion involves surrounding yourself with the English language in as many ways as possible. This is crucial because it helps you think in English and understand the language as it's naturally spoken.
That's right, Adam. Immersion is important because it exposes you to real-life usage of the language. Instead of just learning vocabulary and grammar rules in isolation, you see how words and phrases are used in context, which improves your comprehension and fluency.
Exactly. So how can you immerse yourself in English? One way is through media. Watch English movies and TV shows, listen to English music, and try to follow along with English podcasts like The English Globe. Even if you don't understand everything at first, your brain is getting used to the sounds and rhythms of the language.
Another great method is to change your device settings to English. This includes your phone, computer, and any apps you use frequently. It's a simple switch, but it can make a big difference because you'll be seeing and using English throughout your day.
A personal example from my own experience is when I started listening to English news every morning. It was challenging at first, but it forced me to understand different accents and new vocabulary related to current events. Over time, it became a lot easier, and I felt more comfortable with the language.
That's a fantastic approach. For those who love reading, try to read books, articles, or blogs in English. Start with simpler texts and gradually move to more complex ones. Highlight new words and phrases, then look them up and try to use them in your own sentences.
Another immersive strategy is to engage with native speakers. This can be done through language exchange websites where you can find English speakers who want to learn your language. You can practice speaking and listening in a real conversational context.
Yes, and don't worry if you make mistakes. The key is to practice consistently. I remember one of our listeners, Hana from Japan, shared how she improved her English by joining online communities related to her hobbies. She participated in discussions and even made some friends along the way.
That's a perfect example, Julia. Immersion isn't just about passive listening. It's about active engagement. Find ways to use English in your daily life, whether it's writing your grocery list, thinking in English, or even talking to yourself in the mirror.
Immersion helps you move beyond textbook English and understand the language as it's truly used. So, start incorporating these techniques into your routine and watch your skills improve.
Our second tip for effective English learning is practicing speaking. Speaking is one of the most challenging aspects of learning a new language, but it's also one of the most crucial. Regular practice can significantly boost your confidence and fluency.
Absolutely, Adam. Practicing speaking helps you internalize grammar rules and vocabulary, making it easier to use them naturally in conversations. It also improves your pronunciation and helps you get used to the rhythm and intonation of English.
One effective way to practice speaking is through language exchange partners. There are many apps and websites where you can find native English speakers who want to learn your language. This way, you can help each other and practice speaking in a relaxed, real-life setting.
I've had great experiences with language exchange partners. I remember when I was learning Spanish, I connected with a native speaker from Mexico through an app. We scheduled weekly video calls and took turns practicing each other's languages. It not only improved my speaking skills, but also gave me insights into the culture.
That's a fantastic example, Julia. Another method is to join English-speaking clubs or meetups. Many cities have language clubs where you can meet other learners and native speakers. It's a great way to practice in a social setting and make new friends.
If you don't have access to a language club, you can still practice speaking on your own. Try speaking out loud when you're alone. Describe your surroundings, talk about your day, or read passages from books or articles. This might feel awkward at first, but it's a great way to get comfortable with the language.
Recording yourself is another powerful technique. When you play back the recordings, you can hear your mistakes and track your progress over time. Plus, it helps you get used to the sound of your own voice in English, which can be a big confidence booster.
Yes, and don't forget about using technology. There are apps designed to help you practice speaking. For instance, apps like Speaky and HelloTalk connect you with native speakers for practice, while apps like Elsa Speak provide feedback on your pronunciation.
I'd like to share a success story from one of our listeners, Leo from Brazil. Leo was very shy about speaking English and avoided it as much as possible, but he decided to push himself out of his comfort zone by joining an online debate club. He started participating in weekly debates on various topics, which significantly improved his speaking skills and confidence.
That's such an inspiring story, Adam. The key takeaway here is to practice speaking as much as you can, even if it's just talking to yourself. The more you use English in speaking, the more natural it will become.
Exactly. Practice makes perfect. Start small, be consistent, and gradually increase the amount of time you spend speaking. It's all about building confidence and fluency over time.
Coming up next, we'll discuss setting realistic goals to keep your English learning on track. Stay with us.
Our third tip for effective English learning is setting realistic goals. Having clear, achievable goals can keep you motivated and focused on your language learning journey.
That's right, Adam. Setting goals gives you a sense of direction and purpose. It helps you track your progress and celebrate your achievements along the way.
So how do you go about setting realistic goals for learning English? The key is to be specific and measurable. Instead of saying, "I want to be fluent in English," break it down into smaller, more manageable objectives.
For example, you could set a goal to learn 5 new words every day, or to practice speaking for 10 minutes daily. These goals are specific, measurable, and achievable, which makes them more likely to be accomplished.
Another important aspect of goal setting is to make them realistic. Don't set goals that are too ambitious or unrealistic given your current level of English proficiency and available time.
Absolutely. It's important to challenge yourself, but it's also important to be realistic about what you can achieve within a certain time frame. Setting unattainable goals can lead to frustration and burnout.
One strategy is to use the SMART criteria when setting goals. SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. This framework helps you create goals that are clear, achievable, and meaningful.
Let's break down each component of SMART goal setting. Specific goals are clear and well-defined. Instead of saying, "I want to improve my English," specify what aspect of English you want to improve, such as speaking or writing.
Measurable goals allow you to track your progress. You should be able to measure whether or not you've achieved your goal. For example, if your goal is to learn 50 new words in a month, you can track your progress by keeping a vocabulary journal.
Achievable goals are realistic and within your reach. Consider your current level of English proficiency, available time, and resources when setting goals. It's okay to challenge yourself, but make sure your goals are attainable.
Relevant goals are aligned with your overall objectives and interests. Choose goals that are meaningful and relevant to your personal or professional life. This will keep you motivated and engaged in the learning process.
Finally, time-bound goals have a specific time frame for completion. Setting deadlines creates a sense of urgency and helps you stay focused on your goals. For example, you could set a goal to take the TOEFL exam in 6 months, which gives you a clear deadline to work towards.
One of our listeners, Sarah from Canada, shared how she used SMART goals to improve her English writing skills. She set a goal to write 1 paragraph in English every day for a month. By the end of the month, she had significantly improved her writing fluency and confidence.
That's a fantastic example, Adam. The key takeaway here is to set goals that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. By following the SMART criteria, you can create goals that will keep you motivated and on track to success.
Welcome to the interview segment of the English Globe, where we bring in experts to share their valuable insights and tips on language learning. Today, we have the pleasure of speaking with Dr. Emily Hayes, a language acquisition researcher and professor at the University of Cambridge. Welcome, Dr. Hayes.
Thank you, Adam. It's a pleasure to be here.
Dr. Hayes, as an expert in language acquisition, what advice would you give to our listeners who are striving to improve their English skills?
One of the most important pieces of advice I can offer is to make your learning experience enjoyable and meaningful. Find activities and materials that you genuinely enjoy and that align with your interests. When you're engaged and motivated, learning becomes much more effective.
That's great advice. Many of our listeners struggle with maintaining motivation over the long term. Do you have any strategies for staying motivated throughout the language learning journey?
Absolutely. Setting realistic goals, as you discussed earlier, is crucial for maintaining motivation. Break down your long-term goals into smaller, achievable milestones, and celebrate your progress along the way. Additionally, surrounding yourself with a supportive community of language learners can provide encouragement and accountability.
Those are excellent points. Dr. Hayes, could you share some insights into the role of technology in language learning? How can learners leverage technology to enhance their English skills?
Technology has revolutionized language learning by providing access to a wealth of resources and opportunities for practice. Language learning apps, online courses, and multimedia content allow learners to study anytime, anywhere. However, it's important to use technology mindfully and supplement it with real-life interactions and experiences.
Thank you for those insights, Dr. Hayes. Before we wrap up, do you have any final words of wisdom for our listeners?
I would encourage all learners to be patient and persistent in their language learning journey. Learning a new language takes time and effort, but the rewards are immeasurable. Stay curious, stay open-minded, and never give up on your goals.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Dr. Hayes. Your expertise and insights have been invaluable.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
That concludes our interview segment. Stay tuned for more tips and strategies on the English Globe. Now it's time to dive into our listener questions segment, where we answer your burning questions about English learning. Today, we have a question from our listener, Maria, in Spain. Maria asks, "What can I do to improve my English listening skills?"
That's a great question, Maria. Improving your listening skills is essential for effective communication in English. One of the best ways to enhance your listening abilities is through regular exposure to authentic English content. Try listening to English podcasts, watching movies or TV shows without subtitles, and tuning in to English radio stations. Focus on understanding the main ideas and key vocabulary, and don't worry about catching every word at first. With practice, your listening comprehension will improve over time.
Excellent advice, Julia. Our next question comes from Ahmed in Egypt. Ahmed asks, how can I expand my English vocabulary?
Another fantastic question, Ahmed. Building vocabulary is a crucial aspect of language learning. One effective way to expand your vocabulary is through reading. Choose books, articles, or blogs in English that interest you, and make a habit of looking up unfamiliar words. You can also create flashcards or use vocabulary apps to practice and review new words regularly. Additionally, try to use the new words you learn in context by incorporating them into sentences or conversations. Consistent practice is key to building a rich and diverse vocabulary.
Thank you for those insightful responses, Julia. And a big thank you to Maria and Ahmed for submitting your questions. If you have a question about English learning that you'd like us to answer on a future episode, feel free to reach out to us through our website or social media channels.
That's right, Adam. We love hearing from our listeners and addressing your questions and concerns, so don't hesitate to get in touch.
Before we wrap up today's episode of the English Globe, let's take a moment to recap the main tips and strategies we've discussed for improving your English skills.
First, we explored the power of immersion in language learning. Surrounding yourself with English through media, technology, and real-life interactions can greatly enhance your comprehension and fluency.
Next, we delved into the importance of practicing speaking. Whether through language exchange partners, online communities, or solo practice, speaking regularly is essential for building confidence and fluency in English.
Finally, we emphasized the significance of setting realistic goals. By following the SMART criteria, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound, you can create a roadmap for success in your English learning journey.
Now, it's time to put these tips into action. Start incorporating immersion techniques into your daily routine, find opportunities to practice speaking English with others, and set achievable goals that will keep you motivated and on track.
Remember, progress takes time and dedication, but with consistent effort, you'll see improvement in your English skills. Don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone and embrace new challenges along the way.
That's all for today's episode. We hope you found these tips and strategies helpful in your English learning journey.
If you found the video helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel.